So I was in Miami and it was 7 a.m. I was hungover. I looked to my left and I shit you not, no word of a lie. Chris Rock is sitting there at 8 a.m. sitting on the beach with a notebook. He's just sitting there writing 10 meters from me. And I sat there and I was thinking to myself, hungover, smoking a joint in Miami for no fucking shows, no reason. I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
The money talks, let's keep it real.
Money talks, man. My man.
Money talks, you already know.
So yeah, money talks, man. We got Heavy in the building. Comedian, host of Heavy Sets. He's got a jewelry company, restaurant partnerships, and just like a loud guy, man.
Yes, I have been known to be loud. What's funny though is like if people meet me in person and I'm not making a scene or yelling, they do get a little kind of like confused. They're like, why aren't you yelling right now?
Yeah.
And it's just, it would be a lot if it was at every single moment, but at certain times, you know, the teapot, the tea kettle, you know,
Yeah.
it steams.
So, okay, you used to be 300 pounds.
Yeah, so they call me heavy because I used to weigh, I'll say on stage 300 pounds, but it's really about like 270 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Used to be a big boy.
That's actually a
Used
good...
to like to eat, the beignets and the regulars and the bagels and the a little too much.
Make sure that mic's nice and tight there.
A little too much.
We're good. Okay, so actually that's a good first question. So you're on stage, you perform. How much of like Heavy is actually you, and how much of it is a performance?
That's a good question. I think that ultimately, I've had the nickname and the persona of Heavy since I was extremely young. I got the nickname when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I was at Jewish camp. Shout out to Jewish camp. My family started a Jewish camp back in Canada.
Nice.
It was called Camp Winnebago.
Man, I feel like we're doing I keep having people on and they're like, shout Canada, I'm from Canada, I'm from Canada, and I'm like all Canadian episodes, so it's like this is a Canadian show, man.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Canadian roots. No, Canadian roots.
Yeah, man.
And so at these camps, they do did you go to summer camp?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
So at these Jewish camps, they'll do like canoe trips. And that's usually when you all are on these canoes, you got these big backpacks. But when you're that young, they just bring you to like a little island. They drive you like on the ski boat to like a little island. We're on the little island and the sun is setting and there's this big rock on the island. And me and all my friends are like, oh, we want to watch the sunset on the rock, right? So all the counselors start hoisting us up onto the rock. And I'm like one of the last kids. And these counselors at the time, they're like maybe 16, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty big kid. Like I'm like 7 or 8, but I'm like big. So they try to start like hoisting me up on the rock and they can't ultimately. And everyone's laughing. It's this funny moment. And they're like, fuck, you're so heavy. They're like, we're going to call you Heavy,
That's how it started.
That's how it started, literally. When I was like 7 or 8.
That's crazy.
So it is me. And it also is, I think, comes out more on stage or when I'm on social media. I'm obviously not as psycho as I may seem on the internet.
Yeah. That's your job, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so since it's money talks, let's jump into like, how do comedians make money? Like you've made a career.
Okay, so they don't. I'm just like,
that's
just
it.
end a story.
It's a good pod. Thank you for coming.
No. I mean, like ultimately, and I say that because we do, but it just takes time to make real money in comedy. So like, for example, anytime I've made, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in comedy, it's been, there's a lot of things kind of came together for it to happen. Like I sell food travel shows, right? So I've starred, created, and sold a couple food travel shows that I've sold to Viacom, MTV. That's actually how I originally got my working papers here as a Canadian or Canadians. So I'm on like my 4th O1 visa. And, so like when I would sell a show, I would make a good chunk of change. But as far as like pure stand-up comedy, it's really, really difficult to make your way to the point where you're headlining and you're getting booked and you've got a guarantee. And so what I did and what a lot of people will do and what I would suggest you to do in any industry that you're in, if you're trying to get money for something that you're passionate about, is to create your own motherfucking opportunities. You understand? It's not really that complicated. We all wanted to perform at the club, but when the club wouldn't book me, I said, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go and find a venue that'll give me the space, that'll take the bar where I can maybe charge a cover, and I'm going to produce my own shows. And it actually taught me a skill that is really fucking annoying because no one wants to promote. You understand? Promoting is not fun, but if it's something that you're actually passionate about and that you can get behind and you love and you know is like a good product, then you're cool with it, you know? So that's what I started to do.
So that's heavy sets.
Heavy sets, yeah. So that's what heavy sets turned into once I moved to Los Angeles. But I mean, originally I had all different types of shows. I had a show called Taco Comedy, I'm pretty sure it was called, on Tuesdays in Toronto.
So it was kind of like your hack of like, hey, I'm not the biggest star. I'm not getting booked. So I'm going to just like tell them I'm going to book talent. And then you'd get people bigger than you even and kind of like, and you'd host the night. I mean, I've been to a couple.
It's like if I wasn't getting booked or if I couldn't get stage time and I had a weekly show, I knew one, that I was going to get that stage time. I was going to host. I was going to be able to do as much time as I wanted. And two, I was going to be able to offer other people stage time and like not have to worry about not having anything to offer. When you come into the scene, if you're not producing your own show, you got to be very active and you got to be running around doing this, that, and the other. Producing your own show is an easy way to get to know people in the community. People start hitting you up for spots. You always have something to promote. If anybody ever wants to see you, you can tell them come to the show on this day at this time. It's like always guaranteed. So that's what I enjoyed about producing my own show. But, you know, ultimately, when you talk about getting money with comedy, it's not at the door unless you're doing like a big, big venue, right? If you sell like, you know, a few thousand seats, $30, $50, like that can be decent money. But a venue that holds $100 a venue that holds 100 people or even 200 people, and the venue's taking a percentage of the door as well, you're not really making money on the door. You know?
Do they pay you anything? Or?
Yeah, of course. Like my door deals, I take 100% of the door.
Okay.
But at the beginning when I was starting, so I'd be like getting 50% of the door. You know, I'd be losing
what could
money
that
on
look
all
like?
these shows. It would depend on the size of the venue.
Yeah.
So if it was like 100 people, it would be like $50 tickets, or let's say $25 tickets at $50 tickets, but then minus maybe my travel if I was traveling, if it was in New York, or like marketing materials, and then paying the other comedians that are on the show. You end up really not making that much money.
Right.
So what I'm transitioning into is kind of taking this 10 years of experience of producing comedy shows and leveraging into doing larger tours and like creating content, you know, and selling content. So like I've sold 2 shows to Viacom MTV.
Recently, or that was way back?
So the last one that I sold was in 2018. And then the first one that I sold was in 2014. And I kind of stepped away from the TV space after the 2018 show because it's a lot of star fuckery that goes into selling a TV show onto TV. Like,
what's star fuckery?
Star fuckery. It's like Los Angeles, like basically Los Angeles as a city. Like if you could sum it up in one word, fuckery. 2 words. Star fuckery.
Okay.
It's just like people are just so gung ho on like Mario Lopez. You know what I mean? It's like that was 30 years ago. Like who gives a fuck now? Or like not Mario Lopez, but just celebrity.
Yeah.
And so to break as a new talent and to not have like somebody who's a celebrity or who has a lot of juice in the space on the back end as a production company or as a producer, to just sell a TV show, it's really not easy. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And like I got to the point where Viacom wanted to order my show straight to series, 6 episodes. And then, you know, somebody who I was working on the show with didn't want to do it. And then it kind of just didn't happen. So it's like, even if they want to order a show, some little thing could happen and then it's just not happening.
That was the 2018 one?
That was the 2018 one. So it's like, yeah.
So do they cut the check up front for that? Like, how does that work?
So basically how that works is it's like this. So there's different levels. You can get an order for something that's called a sizzle, which would be like a very short version of what the show would be. And then there's other levels. You could get like an order for a presentation, and that's like usually like a 10-minute version of what the show would be. And then you could get an order for a full episode. So like I've gotten orders for a presentation, which was the last one, and we over delivered. They ordered 10 minutes. They give us 50 racks for 10 minutes. And they
just pay you.
They give you 50 racks to produce a 10-minute version of what you're doing.
And
And then we over delivered. We delivered them a 22-minute full episode on the 50 that they gave us. And they saw that and were like, oh, okay, we want to order 6 episodes straight to series.
Does it cost you the whole 50 to make it?
No. Probably cost us maybe like 20.
So you get to pocket some cash.
If that, probably 15.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So like how it works is everything that's left over kind of goes into the operating capital of the production company because you got other shit going on, and it just or it's profit. You can use it for whatever, And then on the first one that I sold, they put up $250,000 for a 22-minute episode. And on that one, I was like, very inexperienced. My first show, I kind of just handed it off to them, and it all went to shit. Didn't turn out proper. And they probably on that deal, I had a horrible deal. I had no idea what I was doing. It was my first deal. I didn't even have my working papers. I sold the show from my mom's basement without an agent or working papers or anything. I was just happy to get my O1 and be in the U.S. And they put up $250,000 for a 22-minute episode. The production company that did that maybe spent, I would say, $60,000 to $75,000 of that, if that. Probably closer to 40 or 50. 40 or 50.
So that's how they make their money.
And then so for them, even though that show didn't go to air, it didn't matter because they still made $200,000. So that's how the TV game works. And like,
what'd you see off that?
I had a horrible deal. Horrible. Nothing. Barely anything. Maybe 10 racks.
Damn, so comedy's kind of crazy because even
no, so it's like as an artist, you get taken advantage of the same way how like a musical artist does. When you don't know anything, now that I'm 10 years in and I've sold a couple shows and I know what's what, that could never happen because I just wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But to that point, a piece of me really wishes that throughout this past, because a lot has changed in the past 10 years. Every 10 years, everything's changing all the time.
Sure.
But like, if I had been shooting YouTube videos from the time that I had left Toronto, moving to California, trying to get my TV show, selling a show, going on tour with big names and all across the country. If I'd been doing that, I almost wouldn't need to sell a show to TV because I'd have the built-in audience, the 100,000 or a couple 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and like, power to all those people that either did that, are doing that, or plan on doing that. Because ultimately, when you sell a show to a network, it is your original idea might not be able to live because the network is looking at numbers and what their audience is. And even with my first show, I remember like how much they made me change it for what their audience was, for what MTV was.
That's probably the biggest change in the last 10 years where like media and art has become this thing where, like even before like a podcast, you'd have to like sign with a network and pitch your whole thing. And here we are just like in my house, we can pitch up a studio, put this out there, get hundreds of thousands of views because of TikTok and Instagram and all this stuff. And it's like, you don't really need. So the leverage has now shifted to people on their own who did that, built the YouTube channels,
And it's just the beginning of it. Like, I regret not being on TikTok from the beginning of the pandemic. People fucking love my Instagram stories. And if I had been kind of doing that at the beginning of TikTok.
Just hop on now. It's not too late.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's what I'm on. So it's Heavvy with 3 V's and 3 Y's on TikTok and just Heavvy on Instagram. But you gotta be kind of big. It shoots back to the point of creating your own opportunity. Like, if you walk in to a TV or a production company studio and you're trying to pitch an idea, even if it's a great idea, they could just steal it and take it. Like, if you go and you shoot proof of concept, you have it yourself, then everyone's going to be on your dick because they know that you made it yourself. You know what the vision is.
You got to make it so they need you.
Exactly.
You know?
And like everybody wants a TV show, everybody wants money or whatever, but like ultimately, unless you have something that can actually generate, then you're not bringing any value. So it's like, if do it yourself and then everybody's on your dick rather than, because that's a problem with everybody who's like trying to make it quick and easy. They're just like, they see it, they want it. That happens so rarely where you see it and you want it and it just happens. Like, for example, this podcast, right?
Yeah.
You took time, you took money, you took energy. You're, leveraging the relationships and the connections you have to actually make it a thing, right? Yeah. If you were to come in here and it'd be a one camera setup and then maybe there was no video footage for it and the guests weren't really like interesting, no one's gonna watch that fucking shit.
Yeah. No, I always look at it of like, what value are you delivering people? Like, you can't just go out there and be like, hey, I made a podcast, watch it. It has to be like, you want to watch it because I have guests that are saying interesting things. And then for the guests, it's like, why do you want to come on? It's like, well, I'm paying
share
people,
the game.
Yeah, and I'm paying people to cut up nice content for guests like that, like otherwise would cost money,
too.
right?
That too, the clout.
Yeah, I just want to provide value to the guests and to the audience. So it's the same world,
Where the hose?
Yeah, we'll make sure, we found
hose love money.
Do you think like a Netflix special is still like the ultimate thing for a comedian?
It's interesting. So, it used to be a late night spot, Letterman or Carson originally, but then like Leno or whatever. And then it kind of transitioned to having like a Netflix special or something on a streaming service. There's something called Don't Tell Comedy. It's like this brand. They do pop-up shows all over the country. It's absolutely fantastic. When I was running shows in the pandemic, they were running shows there too at the Grand Central Market, which is an iconic place in Los Angeles if you've never been. But like that, doing a Don't Tell Comedy special almost carries more merit now than doing something on late night with Jimmy Fallon, because the amount of views that are getting on YouTube and TikTok and social in comparison to what the numbers are on TV, it's like either comparable or the TikTok and the internet's more, and like the youth isn't fucking watching Jimmy Fallon. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might watch a clip of that shit off YouTube or like off TikTok. No motherfuckers sitting down and like turning that shit on at 11:30. Yeah. People are out getting their dick sucks. They're out trying to get money. They're out doing whatever the hell it is that they're doing. They're not sitting and watching Jimmy Fallon. Respectfully, Jimmy.
Respectful.
No. Bring me on. I like if they brought me on, it would be a dream come true.
Yeah.
But it's just. No one,
What's your ultimate career goal? Like, what's the thing that would be like, that's what I want to do in my life?
My career goal is to continuously sell the food travel content and be able to travel the world, discovering the world through food. And then, starting a family and offering my children the same opportunities that my parents gave me. So like that's pretty much. I don't want.
It's a wholesome goal, right there.
Yeah. Well, I do like. It's fucked up. I was thinking about it. Like if I really started to pop off, I would probably make my socials private and like really regulate it and almost turn it into like a club. Where it was like capped at maybe like I don't know, a few 100,000 on each, or like max like 1 million or some shit. Like, but even 1 million, it's like I don't even want that.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot. I just want to be able to tour whenever I want. I want to be able to like tour whenever I want. I want to be able to travel whenever I want, and I want to be able to start a family and offer them like, everything.
So what does it look like in terms of, so those goals kind of seem like you want to get to a place where shit's like paying you a certain amount so you can kind of do what you want.
Yeah. I think like having a show on, like having a show or multiple shows out there on streaming services or on TV, on cable, would kind of create like the passive income that I would want to just really, really, really just focus on like stand up and writing. I've got like a beautiful movie that I want to get made. Like maybe that'll happen down the road.
So is the stand-up stuff, is it more, would you consider it more brand building?
No. Stand up is like my passion. Like if you see a picture of me or you watch me when I'm on stage,
Yeah.
you'll
I've been.
I'm like grinning ear to ear.
But I
It's
meant
like,
as far as like getting paid wise, is it like, you're not doing gigs to make your money. It's more like to,
it depends on what the gig
Sometimes.
is. For example, like I drove out to Long Beach last night and it wasn't to get paid. It was literally to go and do time in Long Beach and maybe get footage, but just to work on my shit, you know?
put in the reps.
Put in the reps, pay my dues. Even the past weekend, my buddy was opening. I had nothing booked in LA. I drove to San Diego, but I got to do in one night 3 spots at 2 different clubs. You know, so it is what it is. It was 5 hours of driving. I drove back at 4 a.m. that night.
Damn.
But you pay your dues. Like if you want to really do something and get paid for it and be serious about it, then you gotta do it and not get paid to show people that you're serious about it. And who fucking knows? I could have gone and maybe when I rewatch some of those videos, I'll be able to pull some of the notes and some of the sound from it and send it to my guy at Sirius and actually get paid through my TuneCore. And he'll throw it on Sirius Mad Dog and I'll get paid. So it's like, who knows? Or maybe maybe the booker would see me and say, hey, if someone canceled, we want to bring you back next weekend or whatever it is. Or you're with the comedians that, hey, you know, I saw you're willing to come out here. I'm going here. You want to come out here? It's like, you got to put in the work. No one's gonna offer anybody anything who's not taking it seriously. You know?
No,
I'm 13 years in, and I'm like still doing this shit. And I don't give a fuck. I'm like, whatever, hell yeah, like because I love it though.
Yeah,
you know.
No, I agree with all that.
But if I'm producing a show, I'll make money. But like, if I'm just going and work on my shit, usually not even. No.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge advocate for just like putting yourself out there and just doing shit to do it that you don't know the result. Cause like people are always calculating like, if I do this, I get this. If I show up here, I get this. And
how
then
much money am I going to get when I leave that spot? It's not about that.
It's just, you have to just do things that have no outcome, that you don't know the outcome. And that's where the best outcomes are. You just never know. Like you said, you show up, do a thing, maybe nothing happens, but maybe one time someone's in the audience that goes, I want that dude. I run it just for laughs, this, whatever, get on here. Like,
so hear me out.
Who knows?
I was just in Jamaica at one of my close friends' wedding. One of the most serious weddings you could ever possibly fathom. Wayne Gretzky is there, Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Bill Murray, you know, all these really, really important people, a bunch of people in entertainment. And my buddy's dad, he's like a big mocker. He doesn't fuck around. You want to talk about money talk? Like this guy did it, you know? And he's rubbed shoulders with a lot of important people and a lot of entertainers particularly. And when I saw him, he's like, how's it going? You know, he always checks in. He's always like, what's going on with the comedy? Like, how is it? And the pandemic wasn't, you know, like things are popping-ish off again now for me, but like during the pandemic, it wasn't good. You know what I mean? All shows stopped. It just kind of like everything kind of came to a halt.
Comedy is one of those things that really got fucked.
Which is why I wish I had a show that was syndicated that was on, because but the jewelry held me up and other things held me up, but comedy went to shit. And I had a lot of eggs in that basket and still do. But when I saw him, he goes, how's it going? I go, I'm still in it. And he looked at me and he goes, like, seriously, and he goes, that's the key. He's like, that's the key. To just kind of not, he's like, that's the key. That's all he had to say. And I was like,
stay in the game.
Yeah. He's like, stay in the game, because a lot of people, they feel like it's illogical, and it is illogical if you want stability, but ultimately on the other side of risk is reward. So it's like, I've literally seen the meadows. Like I've experienced the upsides. I've experienced the downs. I've experienced the lows. So I'm not going to just let up because maybe there's more lows than there were highs, or, you know, whatever. It's kind of like, especially with comedy, bro, you got to be balls deep. You can't like tip your like foot in the water and be like, oh, what's it like in there? You got to fucking smack your head on a rock, diving head first.
Comedy is one of the
pray that you get saved. And even if it's some fat guy giving you like mouth to mouth, you're like, thank the Lord. Like, and then you do it again. You keep on diving into the pool. It's nuts. But eventually you navigate, and eventually, instead of cracking your head open, you just scratch your hand or whatever, you know, it becomes less and less. You learn how to navigate it.
comedy must have taught you like to have really thick skin in like the business side of it too, because it's just like that's the most out there you're gonna put yourself doing comedy. You're on stage alone.
Nah, you
you're
know
trying
what?
to make people laugh.
At the end of the day, you gotta have thick skin. Like it's just for like it's almost you almost have to chameleonize to know when to have thick skin, if that makes sense. So like, I do therapy.
I've have forms. Yeah.
Because I'm in therapy once a week, and like that's considered, I think, to be like a lot. You know, and even when my shit isn't, even when nothing's wrong, I still do my sessions. Like I'm not like, oh, I feel good, like I'm gonna cancel the session. Like, and even today in my session, like he was like, you know, you don't just have to talk about good things. Like you can talk about things that are bad. And I'm like, oh yeah, like even though things are going well, and I'm telling them about how like things are going well, and like I can still talk about, like I was like thinking about the shit that hasn't been going well, and I tapped into that. But ultimately, in therapy, and like what I've come to the realization of is that like, as long as it's almost like the Chinese farmer thing, it's like we'll see. It's like as long as you just hold like a level of indifference.
You want to tell that Chinese farmer thing?
Yeah, the Chinese farmer story. It's like basically a Chinese farmer. He's got a farm. He's got a kid, and the kid. How does it start off? He hurts his back.
I forget exactly.
Basically, the part of it that I remember is
the kid breaks his leg.
The kid breaks his back,
so he stays home from school.
No. It's like something happens, and like something happens that considered to be not good, and then you know everybody from the village comes to them and they say, "Oh, this is so horrible. We're so sorry." And they'll go, Dad's like, "We'll see," and then for whatever that was, something happened in the town, and then it ended up being a good thing. And then the kid goes and he breaks his back. Everybody from the town comes and they're like, oh my God, we're so sorry he broke his back. The dad's like, don't worry, we'll see. Then there's a huge war that breaks out, and they start taking every able-bodied man to go to war, but they can't take the kid because he broke his back.
Yeah.
And this just goes on and on.
Yeah,
and on,
it's basically
like
the lesson is like, you don't know if something's good or bad. So everyone's so quick to judge like, oh, I hurt myself or this thing, or I got fired and this was bad. But like, maybe it's not bad. Maybe the next day an opportunity comes up that you wouldn't have had. Like, and that's the point of life, right?
Where one door closes, one door opens.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if a hot girl doesn't want to hook up with you, maybe an ugly one does, you know?
That's the moral of the
story. Hey, I mean, I'm giving you gold here, you know? And sometimes that's great. Sometimes that gets you back on your feet, you know?
Yeah. No, I think comedy and like entrepreneurship are very similar.
Well, that's the thing is that comedians these days, bro, we have to be entrepreneurs. We have to do so much. We have to edit our videos. We have to, you know how to use social media.
Yeah.
We have to get money somehow. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not getting paid when you're going on stage, you got to monetize it somehow. You got to have your TikTok. You got to have it on TuneCore, or have it on, or be releasing YouTube specials, or you got to have some form of thing. Like, you got to sell jewelry. You see all this beautiful jewelry I'm wearing? These are all my designs. I sell this shit to celebrities and athletes. You understand?
You want to talk about that a little bit? I think that's really
sure. Like
interesting.
this is a great business. This has helped me when I wasn't getting money in comedy. The jewelry always was.
How does that work? E-commerce or in person?
So basically, the past 5 years, I would say it's been a lot of in person, a lot of off Instagram DMs, or just in person getting Venmos and stuff like that. But previous to that, it was all on Shopify.
How much are the pieces?
It really depends on what you're getting. I make stuff in 925 silver. I also make it in 14 karat gold. It started off with micro pendants of little food pieces. So back in 2014, I was the one that set the trend of having little food embroidered on your shirt. So like burger, hot dog, ice cream, French fries. Got stolen by a bunch of big brands, but it was a fantastic business. I sold hundreds and hundreds of shirts, $40 a pop. It was a great business. It was my merch. It was heavy. And then it had like a corresponding little micro pendant, like jewelry pieces to match. And that kind of transitioned into me designing these bones, the Boneyard collection. And I just love the Boneyard collection because it's like, it's for men or women. And there's just like, it's, you know, the micro pendants are cool, but this is actually like real, like beautiful jewelry. You know what I mean? Where Whereas like I could make cufflinks, like pizza cufflinks, which are really actually cool. I'm going to start making those. Make pizza earrings, really cool. I'm going to start selling those. But it's like it
More niche,
doesn't.
maybe?
It just doesn't. It's just not as I feel like as chic
Premium.
or as classy as the Boneyard stuff. But it's a great business. You buy it, you flip it. You know, you put your time, and you've got to put up some money, but you can make money.
Do you say like how do you say publicly like how big that is or how much you sell or
It again. There's highs and lows.
like what's your biggest day of jewelry sales? If you want to say
On the internet?
Yeah, or in person or
Tens of thousands. Like
Nice.
yeah. So it really depends on what it is. You can make a lot of money in one pop if it's like something like if it's like a custom piece or if it's
so
like,
you kind of do like it's
if it's
kind of
a-
one offs. It's
if
not
it's
just
if it's
like
a ring or something. Yeah, I do everything.
so you just got in the game and like learned where to source stuff and
So basically, I had friends whose families were generationally in the jewelry game, and I kind of brought them on as I wouldn't like on partners on certain things, but more so just as like consultants, and then partners on things that they could benefit from, like and there's certain things that like I'm not the best at. Like for example, if somebody comes to me and they want to make an engagement ring, I'm happy to do it for them, but I would never do it alone. Like I would never do
you
it
kind of
alone.
consult.
I know. I literally like all our FaceTimes will be me. A Done Diamonds is somebody I want to shout out right now. He's one of my partners. So like on that type of stuff, we're partners on it. Do you understand? Because he's one of the biggest jewelers in Canada, sells out of Holt Renfrew, sells everybody their engagement ring. Very, very trustworthy. Has been doing it. His family's been doing it for so long. So it's like, and like he just knows so much about diamonds and about jewelry. And like I know too, but not to the extent that he does. He's like in Israel in the Diamond Exchange, like in New York. He's like been doing it for the same way how like his knowledge of diamonds is like my knowledge of comedy. You understand?
Deep in it.
Deep. So like
That's cool.
I'm really good at designing. I'm really good at like knowing how the business works. I'm really good at selling, but I don't have the.
You're not a jeweler.
I am a jeweler.
You are a jeweler.
I am a jeweler, but it's like I'm a comedian before I'm a jeweler. Does that
Yeah,
make
that's
sense?
kinda
Like
what
it's
I
like
meant.
yeah. I'm more of a comedian. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, I'm a jeweler and I do comedy on the side. It's the other way around. Yeah.
So on the business stuff, you also have like a lot of food content,
Yes.
restaurant partnerships. I see you
Yes.
doing reviews for people in LA. Like there's the Yeasty Boys bagel trucks, and
Yes.
it says "Make it heavy" with 2 V's. That's your
Make it
shit,
heavy,
and that means
yes.
like adding a hash brown to your bagel. How does like that partnership work?
So basically, how it worked was there was this small business and a bunch of I've had a lot of clout in the food space. People like have always like
You just kind of like you were
Well,
doing
it started-
comedy,
it's-
but
it's-
you love food,
it's,
and you
it's both. Like I
Yeah.
started in Toronto. That's where I started doing stand up, and then I made a culinary comedy rap album, and then I shot my own food show, and then I did the Heavy Burger with Burger Priest. That's where like that kind of collaboration, with the Burger Priest. That's also still active
I
across
remember
all
that.
of Canada.
I know Burgers Priest, yeah.
Yeah, Burgers Priest. So if you're in
Used to
Canada and
get
you
that
want
in
to get
Toronto.
Burgers Priest, you can get a Heavy Burger. That's
And
still
they
going on.
They add
They add the Heavy
potato?
Burger, and basically
Or
they add deep fried jalapenos.
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
that. I didn't even make the connection. That's funny.
And so basically that's a licensing deal. They pay me a small amount because that was the first one that I did. And then so when I first moved to Los Angeles, I had all this clout in the food space, and I was approached by them. And at that point, they were one truck, and I think they weren't doing that well. They were like in the red. And we did this collaboration. It went super well. He asked to do it for an extended period of time, put my name on the truck. This is where I made a huge mistake. So at this point in time, I didn't say, yeah, absolutely, definitively, just whatever, off every product that you're selling with my name on it, I get X amount of percentage, just basically creating a definitive licensing deal. The mistake is that because we were friendly, he kind of used that, and because his business was in debt and I'm a good guy, it was like kind of this moment where it was like no contract type thing. And I would start to do the collaboration with Uncle Paulie's or another restaurant. The owner of Yeasty Boys would get super upset and message Uncle Paulie, say, "Don't do this." You know what I mean? And I would kind of ask him what the sales,
he like owned it type
because
thing?
he was making money on it, and he didn't want anybody else to serve the hash brown on a sandwich.
Okay.
And then he wouldn't tell me what the sales were. He would start to basically just started becoming shady, and like I would press him to give me honest answers. I wouldn't get it. I think like after 6 years of it, like I maybe saw $3,000 from it. It was like a big hiccup on my behalf. And even recently, like I had to basically press him to take my names down. Not because I don't like, notoriety or clout or whatever. That's great. All that stuff's great. But just the idea of like a brand you've been working on and building for 10 or 15 years, somebody else making money off that brand. And also just like the way, because I really wasn't asking for that much. I was asking for basically nothing. But what I really wanted were the sales so that I could go to like a larger company and be like, look what I did for this company.
Yeah.
And to get them to hire me to like consult for their
like
business.
come in with a cool idea.
Exactly. And like he just never gave me anything. He never gave me what the sales were.
Yeah.
Never gave me any money really other than the $3,000.
Yeah.
And he gave me a headache too.
Man, shit is cutthroat, especially in food.
I don't think it's cutthroat. I think it's like I think there's like a lot of like especially with money. Money talks, and it's like there's a lot of like it's ultimately greed. People get fucked over because of greed. And like if you're friends with somebody, like even if I am friends with somebody, like that kind of taught me to always just have a contract in place.
Yeah.
And like that way there's just and like there's texts and screenshots and that, but like at the end of the day, I'm a really good guy. Like I could go but that's just not,
You're not trying to do
not,
that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not worth it for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't give a fuck.
I have so many of those stories from my cookie company. You actually ate my cookies.
Of course I did.
Before we even knew each other, right?
Of course I did.
Like
yeah, absolutely.
Canada,
They were
like,
delicious. Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
When
with
we met,
Harley
you were like,
Mornstein, I think.
I
Shout out Harley
remember.
Mornstein. Yeah.
But like, so...
But and even, and we don't even have to talk about the situation that we were talking about the other day when you were telling me about that person that we both know. But it's like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
We'll
kind of
save
like,
that for another time. But
yeah, maybe save that for another time. But it's like people are shady when it comes to
get
business.
screwed, man.
People are shady when it comes to business. And I was super naive, super Canadian, super fat.
I'm the same.
Super horny when I first moved here. No, just like, but I was just naive, and I thought that somebody who I was building a relationship with and I could get money with ended up being not.
You just like
They
assume
were robbed.
everyone will
I
make it
I was
right,
getting robbed, bro.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when I was doing cookies, like, so I was trying to pitch. I was in all those small, like, coolers shops, like Montreal, Toronto. I was trying to pitch to the big boys because, like, that's how you get a really big business. And I was in a long. I dealt with 7-Eleven for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I spent thousands of dollars just to pitch them on like. I'd show them the cookies, and they'd be like, you know what? If we're gonna do this, it needs to be this price. It needs to be this size, right? So I'm going to my other bakeries and trying to leverage that. Hey, make me samples of this. So I was, you remember I was doing all the crazy flavors, all the colors.
Of course.
So this is like 2011, 2012, that kind of thing. No one was fucking, especially in Canada. No one had red velvet cookies.
Well,
birthday
it's funny.
cake,
You look
whatever.
at these. You look at these cookie companies now. Crumble.
Yeah, they're going crazy, and it's all.
So it's
that.
like you were kind of like ahead of its time, like
Definitely,
So
but that doesn't do you any good. But
it doesn't, because if you
But I was just gonna say, I remember pitching like our flavors, and not even the crazy ones, like not even like some of the collabs, just like, hey, red velvet and whatever. And there's like
people are like, fuck off.
fucking guy in the meeting who's like big shot at 7-Eleven is like, red velvet, why is it red? Why does it look like a hamburger? And I'm like, red velvet cake? He's like, no, and if I do, why is it a cookie? Like they didn't.
Well, that guy's a fucking idiot.
Fast forward, I'm in 7-Eleven yesterday trying to buy something else, and I look at their cookies, and they have red velvet,
Yeah, of course they do.
and they all came around, and now Second Cup has a hot chocolate cookie. I pitched them that, and like they were all like, nah, and then they turn around and do it 5 years later.
Yeah, because once they realize there's money in it, see, like,
and it's cool, right? But they're just behind.
no,
and
see,
so,
like at the end of the day, whether it's TV, food, cars, it doesn't fucking matter. If people in positions that are running these companies, ultimately, they don't want to lose their job. So they're going to do shit that makes them feel comfortable and that they know if it goes awry, they can turn back and be like, but look at the numbers though. Like,
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at that. Look at the sales.
No, they gotta play it safe.
Cookies and they have to play it safe.
You gotta play it
But
safe.
in doing so, you just kill any type of creativity.
Yeah.
And then like you also kill it too when something actually creative and original comes around. Then they got to knock it off and make it trash, and then that then dumbs down what the original thing is. So it's just like money talks, dude.
Similar to what you said about if you could go back, you would just build the YouTube. If I could go back, I would just build my own media.
What have you stuck with the cookies?
I mean, I'm saying if I would go back and do the cookie company again, I would have just leaned hard into like what we were doing and not try and dumb down the product, not try and sell it to 7-Eleven,
not try to change for
build make $10 cookies that are fucking insane, and then get so big that they couldn't ignore it, and then they'd come to me and say, make this for us, we'll pay you a shitload because you're the guy, not me begging them to put my cookies in 7-Eleven.
And that's the same way with the TV show, bro. It's like, you go shoot a proof of concept yourself, put the time, juice your connections, put up some money, shoot it yourself, go to a network. I already have it. So it's like, if you don't buy it right now, then I'm gonna go to Bravo, or I'm gonna go. So it's like, that's happening either way type shit. It's like that type of attitude, but that attitude only comes if you know you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
You know
or just like lean into, like that would be my biggest thing. I'd be like, lean into what you're doing. If I would talk to my younger self, I'd be like, don't even worry
I'm gonna start
about
OnlyFans after this episode. You're gonna have to leave the room. I'm like, 3-camera setup and jerk off, dude. Get money.
That's a different show, by the way. That's
bro. You're my producer, bro. You're gonna have to edit the videos.
I want to go back to the comedy shit for a second.
Okay.
You've been like on tour. You've done some really big shows. So you were on tour with Pete Davidson.
I've been on tour with a bunch of. I've been blessed to have been able to go and open for a bunch of different comedians, and it's given me the opportunity to see America, which is like honestly an epic fucking country. If you haven't like been through the random spots in America, then you are missing out.
Yeah. When was the tour? Was it opening for Pete or was it?
Yeah, so I was hosting his tour. I hosted his Comedy Central special. I also worked very closely when I first moved here with this Latino comic. He was one of the youngest people to be on Comedy Central. His name was Dylan Garcia. I don't know if he's still doing comedy anymore. And then, I've also had the privilege of opening for people like Andrew Santino, and, also too talking about I've had the privilege of opening for some great people, but bro, everybody has done my show. And when I mean everybody, I mean
heavy sets.
I mean Joe Rogan. I mean Bill Burr. I mean Adam Sandler. I mean Sarah Silverman. I mean every single big act in comedy in North America, in New York and LA, has graced the stage for my show. And
that's crazy.
Which is wild. Yeah.
What's like something you've learned from being around the best of the best and the OGs?
Is just to fucking work hard and be nice. Like, mind your own fucking business, work hard, and be nice. And, be funny. So, I guess be good at whatever the fuck it is that you're doing. Like, if you're not funny, don't, be funny.
Choose something else.
Anything
that any of those people do that is, something about how they work. Keep
your mouth shut is another one.
Yeah, anything about what any of those people do that's surprising, or their work ethic that's a little weird, or something you notice.
For example, Adam Sandler, right? He was, first of all, genius. Adam Sandler is a complete and utter genius.
I love Adam Sandler.
And I really never understand people who are like, yeah, I couldn't. I'm like, are you stupid? This is anyways. Chris Farley too, may rest in peace. Anyways. One of the things I noticed about Adam Sandler is that, actually, you know what? I'll say this about any real professional, and it's what was that guy who plays on Minnesota, Edwards, who was talking about he's played every single game this year?
Anthony Edwards.
Edwards. I respect Anthony Edwards.
He also starred in Adam Sandler's movie.
Exactly. That's why I'm mentioning him. That's why I'm mentioning it. So it's he doesn't miss a fucking game. And there's a reason why Adam Sandler probably wanted him in the movie, because it's just that type of attitude. He probably met him and just spoke to him.
I love that
but
press conference.
Yeah, you gotta have that type of have that type of attitude. You can't be taking days off. And so I was running my show at the Comedy Store, and there's 3 different rooms at the Comedy Store. There's the belly room, there's the main room, and there's the OR. my show was supposed to be in the main room, but it was undersold. So they moved my show to the OR. Okay. And they sold out the main room like as a Comedy Store show. And Adam Sandler was at the Comedy Store and he was trying to work on some shit because he was about to go on tour. And they asked him, they're like, okay, what room do you want to do? And he was like, and they were like, you can do the main room, you can do the belly room, you can do the OR. Like, my show was the least sold. It was the most undersold. And he was like, I want to do that one. And he came through and he performed on it. It was fucking epic. But the reason why he chose my show is because he's Adam fucking Sandler. He's a legend. People come and save up to go and see him. And he understands that. He understands the importance of when he steps on the stage, what it means, right? So he was like, he would prefer to go and perform in front of a much smaller audience while he's working on stuff for his tour, where it's like Kobe, where it's like people are coming out to see him to play. You know, it's like a game, like against the Knicks or whatever it is. So like he was like, he didn't even though it was just a couple hundred people that were in the main room or whatever it is, he didn't even want to do that. He didn't even want to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he just wanted to work on his stuff in front of the least amount of people so that if it wasn't up to par or what the ever expectation was, it would be the least amount while he was working on his stuff. You got to work on your stuff before you go and do theaters and shit. And he's Adam fucking Sandler. This is leading into another story, a story about Chris Rock, who's a fucking legend, who just released a special that you must watch.
What do you think about it?
Well, listen, it was fantastic. Okay, it was absolutely fantastic. And we can talk more about that, but I want to tell you about a story about when I was in Miami 2 years ago, and I was on a fucking bender. I was in Miami. I went to Vegas. I went back to Miami. I was just like, had money and was just like kind of just shredding it for no fucking reason. It was like the pandemic was ending and things were opening up, and I was like, oh my God, like I got to go and do everything because I've been cooped up for so fucking long. So I was in Miami, and it was 7 a.m. and I was hungover, but I was up early, and I went down to the beach, maybe 7, 8 in the morning. So I'm at Soho House. I walk down to the beach. I go down to the beach. I sit there. No one's there. I light up a joint. I'm sitting there. I'm like, just kind of like, you know, whatever. I look to my left, and I shit you not, no word of a lie, Chris Rock is sitting there at 8 a.m., sitting on the beach with a notebook and I think a newspaper or whatever sitting next to him or something else here. And he's just writing. He's just sitting there writing 10 meters from me. 10 meters from me. And I sat there and I was thinking to myself, hungover, smoking a joint, like just like in Miami for no fucking shows, no reason. I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with me? This is one of the greatest to ever grace the stage. It's 7 a.m. and he's sitting there writing. Like if you people think this shit happens overnight or it's like just like, even if it comes naturally, he's the greatest of the greatest. Are the greatest for a fucking reason.
Yeah,
because their work ethic is impeccable.
That's cool.
So Dave Attell, Bill Burr, Adam Sandler, fucking Chris Rock, like they're legendary names and people for Russell Peters. Like it's not just like it doesn't just happen.
Yeah,
like
work on the craft.
It's crazy. So like that was a moment when I was like, okay, like reset. Like I was like,
yeah,
I might have walked into like an open mic for music that night in Miami, like looking like you're trying to get on stage.
It kind of hit you like,
what the
I thought
fuck
I was
am I doing
for a second.
Hot shit. No, I was a fucking loser. I was a loser. It made me realize how much of a loser I was.
Yeah.
Not that I am a loser, but I was like,
I know what you mean.
Just in that moment about I was being a loser. I was like, why? I was like, you're not even. What are you? I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It made me really look at myself.
What do you think? Like, obviously, there's many ways to be the best and to be extremely funny. People have different angles. What's like, if you're looking from the outside, what's your thing that makes you like stand out?
Like, I think like when I don't give a fuck, like when I don't give a fuck and I'm just being myself and being vulnerable on stage, that's when I'm the funniest. And like, I write best kind of when I'm on stage. It's almost like I'll have a premise and then kind of figure it out on stage over time.
Really? So you're well,
no, like I have certain jokes that like are written, that like are formulaic and written and like I know what I'm going to say. But sometimes you're like, you write something down, you don't know what the punch is, and you have to like kind of almost discover it while you have to like you think about it, you almost know what's funny about it, but you talk about that, but you have to like figure out how it kind of all comes together, if that makes sense. So like some people are very formulaic. They're like they'll write, and then there's the second part of the joke and the third part of the joke and the fourth part of the joke, and that's the joke, and then they move on to the next one, or maybe leads into the next one. But like when I'm trying out new stuff, I always have like a premise that I think is funny, and then a direction that I know I want to go with it. And then if it does well, then I'll really try to button it up and see how I can make it like as smart as possible to like kind of fit into my act.
How often do you have to change your jokes?
I'm writing every day. So like I have a notepad. It's kind of always being added upon. And even if something's not like I bombed, one of my jokes bombed last night because I wrote something down.
What was it?
I'll tell you. Like right now, and talking about money talks, the joke is I wrote down. It's like I want to be supportive, but it's like I can't support all my friends. You know, it's like I'll have like real estate friends posting on their Instagram or whatever, and it's like of a $17 million house, and it's just like respectfully, like I can't afford that house. Like, what am I supposed to? I'll like it, but it's like I can't buy the house. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
And so I'm on stage saying this, dead silence, and I'm just like, okay, I don't think I'm ever going to talk about that again. Like literally, like I had a clip of like me recovering from it being dead silence, and I was almost going to post that, just like bombing 101 of me. Just
and that's
recovering
funny in
from the
itself,
joke.
right?
Oh,
it
was really funny because I was
Yeah.
just like looking around, like I'm never talking about that again. And everybody starts laughing, and I'm just like, I thought something was funny about it. I was like, I don't know, and then I don't know. I cracked a couple jokes, and then moved on.
What's one of your favorite jokes or like topics that you've done that kind of over the years that you can remember, or something
Being
recent?
bald, being fat. Those are like underlying themes, and kind of like being bald, being fat, being horny, being like, just things that like are just so normal. Like things like having anxiety, money problems, insecurities. Like I shoot myself down a lot on stage. Like I'm very self-deprecating. Like I don't think it's cool if people are like come up there and it's like all vanity. I think that's lame. I think you got to show vulnerability, and like that's when I'm my funniest. Is when I'm like just
Humility.
Yeah.
Do you think people can become funny, or they just are, or not?
Interesting question. Very interesting question.
So you see a lot of
I
like
think
tech
that,
bros
like,
being like,
I
I'm
think
going to
that-
learn how to become funny.
No,
I
that's
don't know.
impossible. That's impossible. Like I think that like people like that are funny when they don't know that they're being funny. But anybody who can write a really funny joke, there has to be something funny about them. There has to be. Even if it's dark, even if they're dark people, there's almost like an eagle's eye view that you have to take when you're trying to write something that's like actually intellectually advanced. It's like, it can't just be like I have jokes that are stupid. You know what I mean? They're funny, but they don't hold any intellectual merit. They're not like, they don't really make you think or really make you like some stuff does. You know what I mean? And I think like I'm at my best when it's like a perfect just medley of that. It's like almost like stupidly intelligent or intelligently,
That's your niche.
Yeah, like it's like, wait, there's actually like, so what he's saying is actually like kind of like it's true and it's funny. He's clearly a fat stone, like a chubby idiot, but like there's some truth to what he's saying.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's a good. Let's wrap on.
I think that we got a lot of good gems.
we
in
really
that.
got a lot.
I really
covered a
like the
lot.
Chris Rock story because that was just so.
Yeah,
real,
man, I
dude.
love that.
That's
I love
so
that.
real.
I appreciate you coming on.
Dude, I appreciate you and like
Money talks.
have me
baby.
back when the money's back more up.
Yeah.
Not that it's not up now. We got money tied up. We're invested right now.